Hello, Maddie here. Welcome to my channel, I guess, where we talk about books and a couple other things, but mostly books because books are wonderful and we love them. Now, I've already done a singular video in 2025, was pre-recorded in 2024. So this is my first video recorded in 2025. I have been posting on YouTube for a little over 2 years at this point, which is just crazy sauce, and I have like over 50 videos, which I know for some people isn't that much because they post like once a week and I post every other week mostly. I've missed a couple in there somewhere. But for me, this is a big, huge, awesome accomplishment and we love it. And for kind of my first full video, I guess, for 2025, instead of talking about maybe a singular book, my version of a book review, because for those of you that know or watch my videos, I don't really do book reviews. I just let you know how they make me feel and whether they're worth reading or not. This is like a huge intro, but I've been going through my entire catalog of all of my blogs and I've made a full list when they were published and I have the dates for when all the videos are made for those blogs. And then I have a separate spreadsheet. Yes, this is a spreadsheet for the blogs that don't have videos, which is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And I thought I would take this time to revisit one of my blogs that is just a get to know me blog, telling you a little bit more about who I am, how I pick what I read, like why I read what I read, and a little bit of the thought process behind that. So maybe you'll have a better understanding of who I am, of my channel, and what kind of books you can expect to find in this new year. As I said at the very beginning, my name is Maddie, short for Madeline. My name is Madeline Bolton. That is my married name. My maiden name is Storm, which is awesome sauce, which is where we're looking at changing the title of the name of my channel. But that's why it's Storm's Reading Books, because I am a Storm. That is who I was for 25 years of my life. Storm's Reading Books. That's where we got the name. I have a thing called the Maddie Guarantee. Those of you who don't know what the Maddie Guarantee is, that means when you get to the end of a book that has the Maddie Guarantee, it's going to have a happy ending. Your couple is going to be together. Your people are going to be alive. They're all going to be there living their best life. And sometimes the wreckage of the things that came before. Maybe they've been able to pick up the pieces. But no matter what, it will be, and they all lived happily ever after ending. Okay? So that's what we're going for here on this channel. And now we're going to go into a little bit as to why that is. I have a lot of feelings. I come by it naturally. My family has a thing called the Tender Feelings Club that is led by my father. And I have friends that are like, I want to join the Tender Feelings Club because we have a lot of feelings and we want to be okay and normalize that we have a lot of feelings. Not that it is an excuse for anything, but just and it explains why we're reacting the way we're reacting, why we're, how we process the world a little bit. So the Tender Feelings Club, I am a member of the Tender Feelings Club. A lot of feelings. And this is not just like feelings about real life or real people, real circumstances. It is feelings about everything I encounter in any way, shape, or form, which includes books. So I have lots of feelings about my book, and it's super easy for me to get wrapped up in those feelings and in my characters' feelings and in the circumstances of my books. And then we end up in really dark, awful places. So why we have things like the Maddie Guarantee is because I need those books. I need the books that it's like I can get through a lot if I know the ending's going to be okay. I can handle a lot if my people are there at the end. And in my blog, I talk about, I don't go and read the last chapter or last page, but I go to the end of my books. Not all the time, but if I feel like my book is maybe not going to go the way I want, or if I'm just getting a little bit nervous about it, I will go to the end and here's what I do. I just search for people's names to make sure that they are present. Because if they're alive, they're likely together. And so I don't go read. I'm not reading the dialogue. We're not doing any of those things, but we are making sure that the people I want to be present are present at the end of the book. So that's my way of at least preemptively making sure my books are okay. And there are some things that go into what makes books easier, harder to read. One of those things for me is depending on whether they're set in a real or a fictional world. If they're set in a fictional world and terrible things happen, it's a lot easier to kind of put it in a box and walk away or heal from it when you get to the end, because it's a fictional world. If those people died, it's like, well, this world doesn't exist. This kingdom, this realm, this whatever, it doesn't exist. So these people, even there's no way for this to be in any way real. There's no way for me to genuinely connect with it because it's a fantasy world. It's totally fine. I can grieve their losses, but I can move on. But book is set in the real world. While I do read lots of books set in the real world, it's harder for me to put it in a box and walk away. Most of what I read is fiction, and so them being fictional characters in the real world, it's like it's even though I don't know them or this town or whatever, it could happen. It is possible for these circumstances to have lined up perfectly for this exact thing to have happened, and that's a lot harder to put in a box for me personally. So the books that have harder things in them tend to be set in like fantasy realms, and my real world books tend to be a lot softer. That's just what makes sense in my head. I'm thinking like less harsh edges, less harsh circumstances. So they tend to be kind of simpler, easier, smoother books because I can't handle as much in the real of books set in the real world than I can of books set in fantasy realms. I hope that makes sense. In my blog, because there is a blog that goes along with this, I talk about a handful of books. So we're going to go over those books, kind of using my example of how I got through things. So the first one we're talking about, which I've talked in a video before, is called The Imposter Queen. It's a series. I read the first book. It is super, super awesome. I loved it so much. I I ordered the other 2 books to be home when I arrived because I was on a trip. I read this on a plane. And that is one of my most memorable circumstances of buying books that I have not read and then that burning me, because the second book was a total net zero. Nothing happened. They introduced people and like people died and it was a net zero. In the third book, I got like a fourth of the way through and I was like, things are not going the way that I want them to. Like, I am very concerned things are going to go very poorly. And so I skipped to the end and I was like, oh, things definitely don't go the way I want. So I skimmed through the end of that, or like the rest of that book, and was like, haha, no, we are not finishing this book. We're not doing it because I know what I can handle and I cannot handle the ending of this book. So we pretend that the second and third book don't exist. The first book definitely, it doesn't end in like perfectly clean wrapping that can be just read on its own. It definitely has open-ended things when you get to the end, but it is wrapped up enough that this is a book I'll read on its own because I love it. Next, we're moving on to The Traitor's Kiss. This also has its own video. I guess I'll try to remember to link those down below because I think all the books, 3 of the 4 books I'm talking about, all have their own videos. Traitor's Kiss series. Awesome, awesome series. Like The Imposter Queen, this is set in a fantasy realm, making it a lot easier to put in a box. The main thing being, in every single book, a semi-main character, so not like your main characters, but your like secondary characters, a very important, very prominent person dies in every single book. A singular person dies in every single book. That like totally gets at your heartstrings and is really difficult to process. But the main couple is together, will heal. Like as you go through each book, you see people heal, and it all ends up okay in the end. It is all very sad, but it's very good and enjoyable. So I really love these books, but they definitely have difficult things in them that I'm able to handle because they're fantasy. Also, the first book is my favorite. I'm trying to remember the death in the third book. The death in both the first and the second book are really rough. They're really, really rough, but they're really good books. That's kind of examples of, yes, lots of things that I read are very good, easy, sweet books. And these books are very, very good, but you gotta just kind of know what you're getting yourself into. Next, Every Last Word. This book, unlike the first 2, is set in the real world. This is one of my books that I love. I've read and I've reread it, only like twice, but I have reread this book because it deals with some really, really big, important issues, especially around mental health. If I deal with mental health, I really like suggesting books that have those themes to people that might not understand them, because I love that you don't know what I've gone through, that you can't empathize with what I've gone through because you haven't experienced for yourself. I love that for you. I don't want that for you. But it is really good to have tools to be able to love your friends well, love your family well, and be able to kind of get a little bit more on their level in terms of their life experiences and why things have kind of been so hard. And this is a book that does that really well, but it still ends happy. It's very difficult, but it's very worth all of the struggles that you go through and makes it worth the read. And it has a mighty guaranteed ending. Finally, one of the most difficult fictional books I have ever read. And it's going to get a video of its own with another very difficult book, Once and For All by Sarah Dessen. I want to cry thinking about it. Okay, this book I've read once, and I really, really want to reread it. By definition, you could say it has a mighty guarantee. It's a little bit of a stretch, but technically the couple from the beginning are at the end and they're both alive. It jumps back and forth in time a lot. Oh yeah, I want to cry thinking about it. Okay, it jumps back and forth in time a lot because she goes through something really terrible. And what makes this book so hard is it is a thing that has happened a lot. And these characters themselves are fictional, but the events they go through are more common than they should be. I would say there's something worse than like a car accident or a parent dying from like cancer or something, which is still very terrible and happens all the time. But it is a thing that is very avoidable and very terrible. This book is one of those books that is like, it is worth reading, but you very much need to know that it is really hard to read, which is why I've only read it once. I wept when I read it. Do really want to reread it because it is such a good book and it's so hard because it matters. Does that make sense? It's difficult because it's a topic that is important and worth reading about and like being aware of, but it's really hard. I'm going to do a video on this and another one of Sarah Dessen's books, mainly talking about how one thing I love about her is she talks about kind of some real life just issues. She has 2 particular books that are kind of about just kind of the evils of this world, but about the healing process of them and going through them. So those are the 4 books that I mentioned in my blog, just to give you a little bit of an idea of my ranking of books, because all of these books have positives and negatives. These are definitely some of the more difficult books that I read. I don't talk about my super cutesy, super fun books, which is the majority of the books I will recommend on my channel. I am mostly going to recommend the feel good. Yes, there's conflict, but it gets resolved pretty easily. Nothing super terrible happens. Your couple is there and it's all okay and happy and we're all just feeling good. That is the majority of what I'm going to be recommending on my channel because that's what I can handle on a daily basis. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of kind of the other kinds of books that I'll recommend and why I recommend them, because while we love our cutesy books, we also love our books that make us think, that make us feel, that make us have a better understanding of the world, even if it's through something fictional. And one of the other things I mentioned in my blog that I wanted to mention here to go into like kind of the lighter topic of being a reader and the things that I recommend. I love recommending books that have had impacts on my life, that have just made me smile and made me happy. I talk about the books that I read in Paris or got me to Paris, books that I read in both high school and college and things like that. One of the things, I don't even know how I segued into this in my blog, but I think it's awesome, so I'm going to mention it anyways. These books, I guess this is a segue. Books make you feel a lot, and that can in turn make you super empathetic. And there are actual studies about why readers make better friends. Because we've basically lived so many lives and had so many experiences, we are able to empathize with people in real life better. We're able to kind of meet people where they are better. And even though it's like, I haven't gone through that circumstances, but I've read about someone who's gone through that circumstance. So I'm able to be there better for you as a friend, which I think is it's really cool. And I really like that kind of being able to be like, reading is a good thing. It makes us good friends. So you should have reader friends because we're super cool. That's just, I don't even know if that told you anything about me, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a better idea of my channel and the books that I recommend and why I recommend them. There are very few books that I will talk about that don't have the Maddie guarantee, and I will let you know up front if a book does not have the Maddie guarantee. I hope this was helpful and interesting. I hope it makes you excited about this year to come. It makes you want to, read my backlog of videos. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I am very much looking forward to this new year and all the books that we're going to talk about and all the books that we're going to read. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you are also looking forward to 2025 and the videos that we're going to put out. That would be super duper appreciated. Okay, so my outro is, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a great night, great week, great weekend, great month, great year. I hope you have all the greats because you're truly worthy and deserving of them. So until next time, 再见. 再见means bye in Mandarin, and we do little finger hearts. It's a little heart. 再见. Bye. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a great night, great week, great weekend, great month, great year. Wait, I hope you have all the greats. I hope you have a great night, great day. What is my outro? Hang on. Hang on 1 second.